Swift will be moving Lapras from the field of play, and it's all down to Armarouge to clean up. The opponent not wanting to concede a farm down, send out Ferrothorn, thinking with the fire type out the way, Ferrothorn's safe, and this is going to be an absolute massacre. Welcome back to the channel. Today we have an incredible battle submission from my good friend Pat. Pat had one goal in mind when running this team, and that is kill everything with fire. You can look at the length of this video and tell that Pat is here for a good time and not a long time. This video is so much shorter than videos I usually put out, and despite that, we've got two complete sets today. Pat's going to run an ABB team. Well, at least on paper, we're actually triple weak to rock, but Lapras in the lead. We'll be looking to deal with them oppressive mud slappers with two fire types in the back. Shadow Typhlosion operating on the save switch with the buffed Armarouge in the closer position. Before we get into today's video, give a huge shout out to Pat for not only providing the battle footage, but also the graphic on the left hand side and the thumbnail. Without any further ado, let's get into the battles. And in game one, Pat leads Shadow Lapras into Shadow Pidgeot. Clearly the opponent got the memo that these battles need to be quick. The gust damage going to tear through Lapras, but likewise Shadow Pidgeot, pretty glassy. I've been using it recently and it doesn't tank fast move pressure all that well. Pat farms up to the Ice Beam, baits with the Sparkling Aura. Of course, we are running Skull Bash, but the opponent doesn't know that, so you've always got to fake it till you make it. Unfortunately, we do shield up a Feather Dance Return Fire with the next Sparkling Aura. Quick switch into Typhlosion for the one Incinerate snipe and a very nice running start. Clearly, the opponent doesn't have a great response for a fire type as they send out Charm Granbull. We farm to the Blast Burn bait with the Thunder Punch. Granbull so incredibly so to charge move. Typhlosion able to outpace to the next Thunder Punch, and that removes Granbull from the field of play. Out comes Shadow Torterra. What the heck is this thing doing on my screen? But blink and you might miss it. Armarouge just needs two Incinerates to that Psyshock, and just like that, we're off to a very quick 1-0 start. GG's, and thanks for playing. I'll be honest, not a huge fan of Charm or Razor Leaf, but shout out today's first opponent for running a full Shadow team. In the next battle, we've got yet more Shadow on Shadow crime with Shadow Drapion into Lapras. We're going to tank the crunch, unfortunately getting the defense drop. Pat looks to fire off the Skull Bash, but unfortunately plays the CMP tie. He does not win. Aqua Tail, even with a -1 defense, doesn't get the job done. Lapras holds strong, reaches that Skull Bash. Skull Bash removes Drapion from the field of play, and out comes Morpeko. People who run Morpeko love to save its shields, but the issue this opponent's going to have is you cannot shield fast moves. Both Shadow Typhlosion and Armarouge going to apply massive fast move pressure with this Incinerate damage. The opponent fires off the Psychic Fangs. Typhlosion withstands the damage, fires off the Thunder Punch. Thunder Punch goes unshielded and even resisted, secures the knockout. Out comes Gator. Gator going to be greeted with the Thunder Punch. Thunder Punch forces the opponent's first Protect Shield, and it's all down to Armarouge to clean up. Armarouge just needs to reach the double Psyshock. Pat with two shields to hide behind, going to be investing one here. If I was the opponent, I'd probably commit to fast moves. However, the opponent opting for the charge move route, and we all know how this one ends. Armarouge now at the double Psyshock. One Psyshock will be forcing the opponent's final Protect Shield, and the second is going to be all she wrote, with Pat picking up yet another very quick dub. GG's, and thanks for playing. I never watched battles before I shoutcast. I knew they were going to be quick, but my gosh, these are some rapid fire battles. In the next battle, we see Morpeko in the lead position. This time, Pat opts to pivot into Armarouge, baiting out Azumarill. If we did send out Typhlosion would be able to two-shot with the Thunder Punch. Although saying that, holy cow, Armarouge hits insanely hard, and it looks like even two Psyshocks come pretty close to getting the knockout. The opponent knows they survive, but this does open up the door for Pat to realign if he wishes to do so. Last second, Pat invests that Protect Shield, going to commit to that Incinerate farm down, and we do have switch advantage. Pat opts to give up switch advantage, banks the charge move on Armarouge for the endgame, and sends out Typhlosion. The opponent stay in, fire off the Psychic Fangs, and they really need to pivot as the fast move pressure is going to tear through Morpeko. The opponent sends out Clodsire. Clodsire instantly greeted with the Blast Burn. It looks like the opponent is very content with saving two shields for Morpeko. Typhlosion able to reach the Thunder Punch on what looks like to be a CMP tie. But the issue here we have, I think two Thunder Shocks are going to knock us out. We don't get off the Incinerate. Morpeko going to leave loaded. Pat chucks out Lapras. I think we're forced to shield this as Armarouge is just so low. How do we win this game? Pat committing to fast moves, and this is going to come down to whether we can survive the Thundershocks and get off an incinerate. Can we survive the Thundershock damage? Unfortunately we cannot, and the opponent is able to get a very nice 2 shield flex. GG's to that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we see Steelix in the lead position. We see the safe switch into Armarouge, baiting out Corsola. Pat opting for consistent damage output with these buff psyshocks rather than the flame charge, looking to vamp up his attack. Very nice fast move timing, 1 incinerate and the next psyshock, only giving the opponent 1 free turn. The opponent is going to commit to the full Astonish farm down, but Armarouge has put in a lot of work here in this mid-game matchup, able to force a shield off the opponent and get him into the red health range. Pat sends out Lapras. Lapras gets greeted with the power gem. I'd be tempted to shield this move here. As much as I love to save 2 shields for Typhlosion, it's nice to have a Pokemon alive to reset any potential debuffs. Although, hold that thought, the opponent thinks with a fire type out the way, Jumpluff will be free to sweep, and that simply is not the case. Jumpluff is now switch locked and at the mercy of Typhlosion. The opponent went for an aerial ace bait. The opponent fires off 1 more bait, but that simply does not save Jumpluff's fate. Pat just needs to be careful of the opponent trying to sack Corsola. We wait the turn, see the Thunderfang animation come through, Blast Burn, forces the Protect Shield, the opponent tries to make a catch, Pat shows great composure, Incinerate farms down, and the opponent concedes the match. Very, very nice endgame. GG's. Heading into the next battle, we lead Shadow Lapras into Drifblim, yet more Shadow on Shadow crime. So yesterday my video was kind of a nostalgia moment, as when I first started running Shadows, no one ran them, but nowadays they are so common and it makes me super happy. My work here is done. Although let's try not to get distracted today, the opponent ends up throwing on CMP. They full send the Shadow Ball, recognising an Icy Wind bait would be catastrophic for him. Pat sends out Typhlosion. This is almost certainly an Icy Wind bait, but Pat is going to invest a Protect Shield. The opponent fire off that Icy Wind. Typhlosion able to incinerate farm down, but does leave debuff. Out comes Dunsparce, which is certainly a problem for our backline. Pat fires off the debuff Blast Burn, which still does monstrous damage. We then bank a charge move, send out Armarouge, sneaking the incinerate in the process. A very nice play. Out comes Dugong. Pat farms up, fires off the Psyshock. Psyshock won't be lethal, but will do a lot as this thing hits like a truck. The first one lands. Pat able to reach the next one on the charge attack priority. Okay, this looks like we're in a good spot again. Draw run will be moving us from the field of play. The opponent go for the undercharge. Oh boy, this is going to get close. Pat can fire off 1 incinerate and the Thunder Punch, outpacing by a single turn. And this now comes down to whether we can survive 2 rollouts. Back out comes Dunsparce. Dunsparce looks for that rollout farm down. Typhlosion says no, reaches the Thunder Punch, and we take that game. The 5-turn move Incinerate isn't the easiest to use, but Pat has been using it very well today, throwing a very nice timing. In the next battle, oof, we've got some spice. Trainer, you need to get out. No, that 1 Incinerate did like 40% of their health. The opponent sends out Pelipper. No, they don't even shield the double super effective Thunder Punch. Then send out Superior. Trainer! What is going on here? Clearly the opponent thinks, if you don't believe in fire types, they cannot hurt you. Typhlosion running absolutely rampant. Of course, we could just Incinerate farm down here. I was anticipating the opponent not shielding, but it looks like they're playing out, hoping, beyond hope, that Sandshrew can sweep the back line. Pat then even makes the catch back onto Lapras. And this is getting difficult to watch. I feel so sorry for our opponent. Win cons for the opponent at this point are Pat having a heart attack or us lagging out. Of course, lag, a very feasible option though. We're even going for the bad manners Skull Bash, hitting no bubbles. Pat then stops tapping, but the issue is I don't even think Night Slash knocks us out. Does Night Slash knock us out? No, it doesn't. Pat pivots into Armarouge just to show the second fire type, and that was an absolute massacre. For those of you that don't know, it's kind of an ongoing joke with members of my Discord. They love to send me battles where they reduce me to shambles, and once again, Pat, you've achieved your goal. Heading into the next battle, we see Clodsire in the lead position. Very nice for Lapras, although Clodsire can fight back, especially if this is the Stone Edge variant. It becomes apparent very quickly that this is a Sludge Bomb Clodsire they threw after only 6 Poison Stings. I was going to say they should look to bait a potential Stone Edge, but they threw the Sludge Bomb then pivoted out, looking for some chip and dip, so I guess that made sense. We bank a boatload of energy and pivot into Typhlosion. If we would have switched a turn earlier, we would have snuck a full Incinerate in the process. Unfortunately, that wasn't to be the case. Pat, gonna start investing shields on Typhlosion. We fire off the correct one Incinerate and the Thunder Punch. Unfortunately, Thunder Punch isn't lethal. Pat now has a decision to make. He is going to invest a Protect Shield here and look for that full Incinerate farm down, but we are down both Protect Shields. A loaded Typhlosion should do a pretty good job of forcing shields back as this thing hits like a truck. The opponent sends back out Clodsire. We bank our energy on Typhlosion, pivot back out into Lapras. The first Sparkling Aura forces the opponent's first Protect Shield. They continue to stay in. Pat takes the initiative, fires off the second Sparkling Aura, forcing the opponent's final Protect Shield. Mr. Opponent, what are you farming up to? We reach the next Sparkling Aura. The opponent gets denied all their energy. Out comes Thickersby. Thickersby doesn't fire off the Fire Punch, enabling us to reach the next Sparkling Aura, and this game's over. We've got a Blast Burn locked and loaded. Thickersby with a pretty non-existent attack stat. When I used it, I couldn't believe we lost CMP to stuff like Lapras, but Blast Burn picks up the one-hit KO, and we take that game. For anyone wondering, Typhlosion has a 132 attack. The Big Fat Bunny has a very pathetic 96. Heading into the next battle, we see Morpeko in the lead position. The instant pivot into Typhlosion, once again baiting out Clodsire. On paper, this is a type negative matchup, as we are a fire type into a ground type, but I'd much prefer to be Typhlosion in this matchup. Firstly, I'd never use Clodsire. It's so bulky, it's so boring. And secondly, the opponent isn't really operating as a ground type attacker, using Poison Sting as a quick move. Pat lands the next Blast Burn. He's able to Incinerate farm down. And did I not tell you Typhlosion's much better than Clodsire? Out comes Mandibuzz. We bank a boatload of energy, send back out Lapras to operate as the damage sponge, looking to draw that Morpeko back onto the battlefield. Morpeko re-enters the arena. Pat just going to look to completely sack Lapras. Aura Wheel picks up that one shot. The opponent getting in on the big boom action. Pat sends out Armarouge. The opponent throws on alignment. And this now enables the full Incinerate farm down. Morpeko getting absolutely deleted by this oppressive Incinerate damage. Back out comes Mandibuzz. Here I would like to see Pat go for the one and throw for good fast move timing. Pat then banks his energy again, pivots back out into Typhlosion. Thunder Punch forces the opponent's final Protect Shield. Pat able to reach one further Thunder Punch. Thunder Punch from this range won't quite be lethal, but will leave him low. The opponent's going to need a perfect undercharge to win this battle. Aerial Ace picks up the knockout. One Incinerate is going to knock him out, and we take that game. I think potentially there, we could have played that endgame a little bit cleaner. We could have thrown one Incinerate and the Flame Charge, and then pivoted out when we had a Flame Charge bank. But regardless, we was able to emerge victorious. Heading into the next battle, we see Malamar in the lead position. We see the pivot into Typhlosion. The opponent tank the Thunder Punch. They don't throw at the best timing. That Incinerate should knock out, so Pat can just shield and get that farm down. We do exactly that. The opponent sends out Ferret. We build to the Blast Burn, bait with the Thunder Punch. Thunder Punch forced the Protect Shield. The opponent looking for that full Sucker Punch farm down, but Typhlosion refuses to die, reaches one further Thunder Punch, rocking them below half health. Nice to bait this Ferret out. Not that Lapras is going to be particularly good into it, but Armarouge doesn't want to see it either. Trailblaze will be super effective, but Lapras is going to do a pretty good job of operating as the damage sponge. Pat tries to side away farm down, unable to get it before the Swifts reach. Swift picks up the knockout. The opponent not wanting to concede a farm down, pivot out into Ferrothorn, thinking with the fire type out the way, Ferrothorn is fine to sweep. But this is going to be an absolute massacre. Pat goes to the one shield, full Incinerate farm down, leaving with the double Psyshock. The first Psyshock will be forcing the opponent's final Protect Shield, and the second one is going to be all she wrote. GG's, and thanks for playing. Yet again, a very quick battle. I can't quite believe it. This is sub 14 minutes, including my intro clip. My intro, I always talk for far too long, and that is 2 sets completed. What a deadly team. I think today's team is one you should certainly save somewhere. So when we have Go Battle Weekend, if you want to smash through them 20 sets in rapid fire whilst having fun, this looks like the perfect team for that. You can probably complete all 20 sets in like sub 2 hours, which is pretty absurd. A huge shout out to Pat for not only providing today's a very fun team, but also the graphic on the left and also today's thumbnail. So if you're enjoying my content, smash that like button if you're new, consider subscribing if you'd like your battles featured on my channel. A link to my battle submission form is down below. And as always, a huge thanks to everyone for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.